Good evening and welcome to my How Healthy Are You weekly educational call. My name is Dr. Thomas Brewer. I'm a PhD chemist. I'm going to start this call with some information about supplement contamination, specifically herbal supplement contamination. And I was really surprised when I learned some of these statistics. And this is more so for the herbal supplement industry, but it also applies to some of the other supplements that people buy, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, things like that. But especially for the herbal supplement industry, most of the companies are non-compliant with something called Good Manufacturing Practice Guidelines. So this Good Manufacturing Practice Guidelines means the manufacturers are supposed to test all their raw materials, not just for purity, but for potency, to make sure there's nothing in there that doesn't belong in there and that the active ingredient is in the correct ratio. So if they don't do that, it's just a guessing game what you're getting. And the problem is they don't always test their ingredient. And a lot of companies have been doing that the past 25 years. It's been more and more realized that there isn't a federal law that forces them to determine that whatever they're selling doesn't hurt people. It's more of after the fact. If somebody's hurt, then they're investigated, but they don't show that their ingredients are what they say they are and there's no contamination. So to get some numbers on this, and it's still far better than the pharmaceutical industry, but 50,000 Americans are harmed every year from non-compliant herbal supplements. Now, 100,000 Americans die from prescription drugs in hospitals, and another 200,000 die from prescription drugs when the people are not in the hospital. So about 300,000 people die each year due to prescription drugs, and the number is closer to 50,000, like I said, for pharmaceutical or for supplements, mainly the herbal supplements. The problem with many of the herbal supplements is they get tweaked with drugs. So the herbal supplement manufacturers add some drugs to their product to give it some extra so-called benefit. And it's really a bad thing to do that because these drugs aren't approved to be used in an herbal supplement. That's not where the worst problem is. The worst problem is in the contaminants. One of the main contaminant areas is heavy metals. So if you look on a periodic table, these are the metals that are further down on the periodic table. They're pretty much all toxic. And pesticides and fungal toxins also get into many, many herbal supplements because when they're manufactured, they're wet. That's the way it's supposed to be. But it means that when your raw material's wet, you got to take extra care to avoid a fungal contamination and even pesticide contamination when the plant was being grown. So metal contamination and pesticides, that's about 90% of the herbal supplements, meaning 9 out of 10 times, 9 out of 10 companies are selling herbal supplements with heavy metal or pesticide contamination. It's even worse with fungal, though. Fungal toxins, 96%. So it's behooves you to be very careful with your herbal supplements. Milk thistle, which is very good at lowering cholesterol, and it works similar to statin drugs. It's not as dangerous as statin drugs, but it's a similar mechanism, and it is natural, but 96% of them were also found to be contaminated with fungal toxins, and I even think with milk thistle it was slightly higher. It was almost 100%. So the issue here, it's very hard for government agencies to police, and that's an interesting word nowadays, but to determine the supplement manufacturers that are in compliance with these good manufacturing practice guidelines and those that are not. The reason is there's about 90,000 different supplements on the market, which is just amazing. I mean, we don't have 90,000 different cars. We don't have 90,000 different brands of toilet paper, et cetera. I mean, it's hard to think of anything where your choice is 90,000. So it is a very broad market. Now, the best thing you can do is to know the manufacturer. One thing I used to always say, can you call up the manufacturer and talk to them? And I mean the owner, not a salesperson, and find out what their good manufacturing practice guidelines are. Now, I've done all that work for you because I've already done that with any of the products I sell, and most of my products are the Enriching Gifts. And as most of you know, you can call up the owner, Ron Schneider, anytime. He pretty much picks up his phone anytime, day or night, and you can ask him questions. And he loves talking about his product because he's very proud of his product line. But even in other cases, I've already done a lot of the work for you. So be careful with herbal supplementation. You can actually be adding toxins to your body and not even know it, and it could be a cause for some of your problems. So some people get rashes and things like that. They're totally unexplainable. This is a possible cause. That doesn't necessarily mean it is, but it's something to think about. The other thing I wanted to talk about was I've been getting numerous calls the past probably 3-4 months, even before this coronavirus issue, COVID-19. And people were asking for a Telezyne replacement, which would increase the length of your telomeres, which is essentially biological age reversal. And this was all discovered about 15, 16 years ago, and it's just been getting better and better. And I was telling people I found a replacement, but it was fairly expensive. It was only sold in a 3-month supply bottle, and a 3-month supply was $500, and that was $100 below retail. So it was essentially $200 a month at retail. I have since just tweaked my supply, and I now have 1-month supply bottles for $99, far less expensive, about half the price that it used to be, and you can do it monthly instead of being forced to buy a 3-month supply. So if you're interested in that, give me a call, or you can order it on the product ordering line. The manufacturer has dozens of published reports, and I have some of them in my office, very impressive scientific data that's been taken over the past 15 years or so. So if you're interested in that, let me know. It is a lot more affordable than it was. Okay, so I'm going to open up the call to questions. There we go. So if you have a question, go ahead and ask it.
Dr. Brewer, what are some of the advantages that you would see by taking that Telezyne?
Right. So first, it used to be Enriching Gifts used to sell Telezyne but couldn't anymore. So this is a replacement that, in my opinion, is even better than Telezyne. The benefits, the first thing you're going to notice is your long-term memory will improve in just a couple of weeks. You'll notice your long-term memory improving. And that's as far as what first thing you're going to notice. Now, at a molecular level, your DNA strands are getting longer. So the telomere is an end cap on your DNA. It's analogous to the plastic cap on a shoelace, which we're all familiar with. I think that's the greatest analogy I ever heard. So as we age, that plastic cap on our shoelace, if you think of it that way, starts to get shorter and fray, and that's what's happening to the telomere on the DNA strand. And what TA65 does is it regrows that telomere end cap, which would be like regrowing the plastic cap on your shoelace, and it does it molecule by molecule. So it does take time, but the first thing you'll notice is your memory. The next things you'll start noticing is all of your age-related problems start to diminish. So we can look at sore joints all the way up to arthritis. We can look at hair loss and hair color. And I've seen numerous people get their hair color back, and from gray hair back to whatever their hair color was. I've seen that lots of times. And it depends how long it takes. I've seen it happen in 3 or 4 months, and I've seen it take a year, but I see it very, very often. And anything else that you tend to notice with the declines that come with age, I would also say there is a very, very good chance you're going to not only increase your quality of life, but increase your life expectancy. There are other ways to sabotage your life expectancy, and one of those is not having enough enzymes when you consume a meal, whether you get it from your food or whether you supplement or both. But that's another way to sabotage your life expectancy. But assuming you're able to get the nutrition from your food and metabolize it and then eliminate it when you poop, this would be a great way to increase life expectancy and improve quality of life. A lot less joint pain, better eyesight, hair color returning, things like that. So that's what I've seen in pretty much every case. It's just a matter of the degree and how long it takes for a person. Depends on a person's genetics when they start and how short the telomeres were when they start. But as long as you're alive, they are going to grow. So, did that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thanks.
Okay. Do we have any other questions?
I have a question about the allergy testing.
Yes.
You had...
The food allergy testing.
Right,
yes.
The food allergy testing. You had sent me the little pamphlet, the Meridian Valley little brochure.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to compare with some things that some of my other doctors are offering me as far as there's so many different, if I understand it, there's different pathways that some allergy tests would target or be testing.
Actually, they're all extremely similar, very, very similar. It's just a matter of marketing. It's going to be hard for you to understand the technical difference because it's marketing. It's just words to get you to purchase something.
Mm-hmm.
The one I sent you, they've already raised their price on me. And, it's going to be hard for me to even, I won't be able to do it with my old pricing after I only have 2 more kits.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I don't know if I'm going to get any more or just tell people to do what you're doing. Go to your doctor and see if you can get them to do it.
Okay.
But
so I was
it's fairly expensive. I mean, it's a lot more expensive than what I'm charging people.
I was going to ask some questions about how to compare. I mean, like I couldn't see on the one that you had given me, like what which pathways or how. I mean, I'm not sure what the terminology is, but and so if you're not going to be really offering it, then I guess there's.
I don't know for sure what I'm going to be doing. I've got 2 kits left, and I prefer to use them here.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know when I'll be going to Pennsylvania this summer. I was supposed to be there a week or 2 ago, and we'll see how things open up there in Myerstown. But I don't even have enough kits to bring with me there. I'm trying to negotiate a better price with Meridian Valley Labs. But I did a lot of research, just like I did with the turmeric, herb, and cinnamon that I offer. I did a lot of comparison with the food allergy test kits, and they were the best. And I have spoken to a lot of other doctors that use Meridian Valley Labs, and they've been using them for 10 years, which really tells me something, because they could have switched any time, and they've stayed with the same company. So they're happy with the lab results and the consistency. But as far as the details, how it works, that is not my specialty. But they are testing antibodies, which is the same sort of thing you'd want to test against a virus like COVID-19. You'd want to know if you have the antibodies to that virus. In this case, the test shows if you're making antibodies to food when really you don't want to make antibodies to food. You'd like to make antibodies to every single virus and to have them for every single virus. But in a perfect world, you don't want to have antibodies to a food that you like and that you eat. So I'm not sure what else you can compare unless you compare the different types of foods. The one I offer is 180 different foods. I've never had anyone complain that the amount of foods is too low. At least the amount of foods tested is too low. It's plenty of foods. There really isn't much left to choose from. So, but if you can find something similar, it might be better just to go ahead and do that right now.
It's just hard to know how to compare, because some of them will test for like IgG, IgA, IgE, IG4.
Right.
Some of them will do 1 or 2 of them. Some of them will do multiple combinations, and I just wasn't sure.
Yes, and I'm not an expert on the differences between those.
Okay.
So I wish I knew more about all the differences, and I could tell you which one is better. I don't think it's more of a better or worse. they all have their benefits and limitations. It's going back to cars, it's like comparing one model car with another. They all work. They all take you from point A to point B.
Yeah.
So all of the testing protocols will tell you what you're allergic to. That I can tell you.
Okay. Is there different kinds of the antibodies that all? I mean, it would tell you what you're allergic to, but what is the pathway? Do you know anything about like the different pathways that they talk about?
I don't. It's not my
Okay.
Not my area of expertise. It's something I researched to see who works, who has good data, who has consistent data with a small standard of deviation, high level of accuracy. And like I said, I talked to a lot of doctors that use them, and they seem to be one of the most common. But every doctor I spoke to, they never dropped them. They stayed with them, and they could have changed. So that to me was really the best evidence, because if the results weren't right, a medical doctor would have dropped them, because they have a level of liability if they have false positives. And that's all we're concerned about is accurate data, right? Accurate data at a decent price.
So I have two other options from two different doctors, and I don't know how to compare it all, but we'll figure it out somehow.
Yeah. I mean, if you do it the simple way, you would just see the number of analytes meaning each type of food, and what the price is for, X number of analytes. I think you will find they're very competitive.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any more questions?
Yeah, Dr. Brewer, do you have any recommendation for a good metal detox, pesticide detox? Do you have some recommendations for that?
I haven't. There's a couple of easy ways to do that. So the first way is, I'm trying to think of the herb again. There's an herb you can use to detox. Oh, I'm going to have to call you back on that. It's something that you would put in salads. Oh,
cilantro?
Okay, it's cilantro. Yes. So, and you just consume that every day. And you just have fresh cilantro. You can grow your own. You consume anywhere from half a cup to a cup of that a day. You can make it into a tea. You can eat it on your salads, which I would recommend. And it's a very gradual way to detox the body, and it is not painful. So that's one. The next way is to include fresh squeezed celery juice in your morning routine, which I've talked about numerous times. You would start your day with warm water, squeezing half a lemon in there, waiting 30 minutes, and then having about 4 ounces or so of fresh squeezed celery juice, and it could be more than 4 ounces. And you do that every day. And the detoxification is consistent, gradual, and pain-free. There are other ways to pull metals out of the body, but they involve something called chelating agents, which I'm sure you've read is the Greek word for claw. So the molecules will wrap around the metals, and then when the molecule leaves the body, since it's grabbed onto the metal leaves the body. A common chelating agent is DMSO, which stands for dimethyl sulfoxide. And that and other chelating agents are cumbersome, painful, awkward, taste bad, hard to do. And you're not going to stick with it. You're going to do it a very short time and you're going to quit. It's kind of similar when I tell people convenient, successful ways to diet if they want to burn fat. It's got to be a way that they're going to do long term. It can't be something they're going to do for 2 weeks and say, this is horrible, and I quit. And the same is true for detoxing. So the cilantro and then the fresh squeezed celery juice after your warm lemon water, about 30 minutes after your warm lemon water, then 30 minutes after the celery juice, that's when you eat whatever you're going to eat for breakfast. Give that celery juice 30 minutes to detox your body every single day, and you will detox. You'll pull those metals out very, very gradually and consistently, and it won't hurt you one bit. You won't feel any pain at all.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. I wish there was a registry of good companies that sell vitamins and herbs. You've mentioned how so many of them are contaminated. Is there anything like that around? Does some company that tests them recommend certain kinds or not? Or maybe you have that already figured out?
I haven't. I don't have that figured out. It is the testing is very expensive, and that is why most manufacturers don't do it. Now, I do know Enriching Gifts does it, and Ocean Blue does it for the fish oil, and the herb that I use for the turmeric, it's called Rebel Herbs. I know they do it, and they spend the money to do that. And it's something they have to do with every batch. Every batch of raw materials has to be tested. And but those are the companies that never get sued and don't go out of business and stay in business a long time because nobody got poisoned by their product. But I don't know the testing facility they would go to. I mean, and you wouldn't do it yourself. I mean, you'd be doing them a favor, spending thousands of dollars to test something. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's not something the consumer would do. Yeah.
So it's very difficult, you're saying, to
it is.
For sure.
It's very difficult. That's why I suggest contacting any company where you're buying their products and asking them, what do they do to comply with what's called good manufacturing practice guidelines? That's all you have to do is ask them that. And they should have something to provide you. Okay,
yeah.
So that's the easy way to do it. They may have something on their website and they'll refer you. They may have some sort of a stamp or label on their product based on the testing facility that they used. Now, I haven't seen that on products. I mean, if you look on products, I have never seen a stamp like that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I do appreciate that very much. It seems like a difficult thing and all, and we don't aim to take toxins or toxic things, but maybe we are sometimes.
Well, every day you take a breath, you're breathing in toxins. Anything you drink contains toxins. You can look in the newsletter this week. I talk about all the plastics we're ingesting. It's amazing the amount of toxins we ingest on a daily basis. It's amazing that we can survive, and it's amazing our livers survive. But the livers have to get rid of those toxins. That's why, as we age, we tend to have what's called a fatty liver. We tend to make more LDL cholesterol as a result of liver stress, and that's why I tell people to start their day detoxing their liver. It's something you never end. You have to do that the rest of your life if you want to live a long life, because if you're on this planet, you are breathing, eating, and drinking toxins. There's no way around it.
Yeah, well, thank you for that.
Yeah. Of course, what makes it worse is we can be taking in toxins with our supplements. That's like adding insult to injury when you're trying to better yourself and you're taking in toxins. So it's a game. That's why I do these calls, why I write the newsletter, trying to stay ahead of all the issues out there that affect our health. So, yeah, thanks for asking that. If we don't have any more questions, I'm going to end the call. I'll be having another call next week. And like I say, I always appreciate the questions. That's what makes these calls very good for the people that listen to them afterwards. So with that said, I wish everyone a happy and healthy evening. Good night.